Today, we're looking at a red ink by Lamy Red. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. It really does help me and the channel. If you don't know me, I'm an ink guy. Now, also, if you'd like to see other red inks, there's going to be a link down in the description to the playlist of the red ink reviews that have been done so far. To standardize some of the writing samples, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Let's take a look at the first of those, 90 GSM Clairfontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no real shading. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 13 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it. The smear test says you stand a chance of recovering it if you smear while you're writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, the writing samples are all done with this Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, this Jinhao X450 with a medium nib, and this Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then, a Lamy Safari with a 1.5 stub was inked up. It was used for a day, and it was used to take the notes for this video. Now let's look at the second standardized paper, 52 GSM Tomoe River. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is just slightly lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 12 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 15 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We're not really getting it. In the smear test, you're not going to recover your smear because you're on Tomoe River. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to be learned by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down and it's immediately put in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this very bright pink at the bottom working its way up, and we get a kind of muted red and yellow across the top, which I found the yellow bit to be most interesting. The one on the right was let dry for 10 minutes before it was dunked in the water, and you see that that pink is actually a pink because of how it's gathering at the bottom. Some of that pink was really staying there, which makes me feel like it might be a bit of a holdout color. The red pushes up, still very muted, and then still have that yellow at the top. Up next is the last of the standard papers, 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, but it does shade. On quick, you see it starts red, becomes kind of pink in the middle, and red at the end. Brown starts red and turns kind of a pink. So as it's toning down to show, that's the word, some shading, it goes down towards pink, like we see with Over, where it goes from red to pink to red. 9 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 12 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, although we do get some in the extra fine. And the smear test says you could probably recover some of what you had if you smeared it while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on a page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it definitely had quite a bit of blowout, but is very readable there. It spread a lot. It does feather, but again, it's fully readable, which could make you feel safe to use it as a note taker if you need to go back and highlight. Water is reactivating all of those heaviest tones, leaving behind that pink that we saw at the bottom of the chromatography strip. Pen Flush does everything that water does, just a little bit more. You see more of that pink is gone, but there's a lot of that pink left behind. And the 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it from the paper, although it only took water to get this out of my pen. The next writing samples are done on paper that change up in order to expand the experiences even farther as we look at these inks. This paper is going to be TWSBI notebook paper. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine's quite a bit lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, a lot of shading. It's mostly writing in pink, shading up to red. Like when you look at the word the, we have red, but over is pink. Lazy goes from red down to pink. 7 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, although we are getting some with the extra fine. And the smear test says, yes, you do stand some chance of recovering it if you smear while you're writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity, or flow, was 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Lamy Red has a viscosity of 1.46, making this very wet. The next writing sample is done on black and red notebook paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is a lighter tone than the stub, actually much more pink than the red of the stub. The extra fine has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does shade some from that pink to red, like you see in over. Starts pink, becomes red at the R. We see more often where most of the word is in red and then some of it is in pink. 8 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine, far left to far right, does show color variation, which we do get in the writing. The medium shows none, and we had none. But the smear test says you can't recover this if you smear while you're writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time is 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Lamy Red has an average dry time of 12 seconds, making it dry just a little bit faster than normal. Instead of finding inks that look like Lamy Red, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went with a nice turquoise because of the amount of pink that does show up here. I chose Callifolio's Botany Bay because Callifolio is a huge Star Trek fan. If you would prefer a different color ink as your complement, down in the description are links to all of the playlists by color for the reviews on this channel. So what do I think of Lamy Red? This is just a boring red. It does give some color variation and shading, but when it does, a pink undertone shows through and I don't really care for how it looks. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? I don't like those pink undertones and I want to make it much more red. And with that, I would use a wet fine or wet medium pen to really do it. I hope you got something out of this video and I look forward to reviewing tomorrow Noodler's La Reine Mauve.